If you just put your first short-term rental under contract, pause and let that land for a second. You did the hard part. You found the property, you negotiated it, and you said yes. And if your very next feeling was a tidal wave of, wait, now what? That is exactly why I made this video for you. And oh, by the way, I'm Stacy St. John, and I help women turn short-term rentals into businesses that buy back their time instead of swallowing it whole. So let's build this like a CEO would. Here we go. Step 1, separate your business from day one. Step 1 happens before a single throw pillow enters the picture. Stand your business up as its own entity. An LLC, its own bank account, completely walled off from your personal money. Now, I'm not an attorney and I'm not a CPA, and you genuinely need both of those people in your corner. So go have these conversations about the structure of your entity that fits your specific situation. But here's why I plant this flag at step 1. The moment your rental income and your personal spending share a bank account, you've handed yourself a bookkeeping nightmare and a weaker legal position all at once. A CEO can answer the question, is this property actually profitable? In about 30 seconds, because the numbers live in their own clean lane. You cannot lead a business whose finances are tangled up with your target runs. So give it its own house right now, today. Step 2, get licensed and insured. Now, this is the unglamorous one that protects everything else, licensing and insurance. On licensing, there's no universal answer. Every city, county, and homeowners association actually writes its own rules, and they can change. So treat staying current on your local regulations as a permanent part of this gig, not a one-time errand. The cost of getting this wrong is not a slap on the wrist. It can be your entire operation shut down overnight. Knowing the rules is your responsibility now, so own it fully. And on insurance, get covered the day the property is yours, before a guest, before furniture is delivered, before anything happens. And when you talk with an insurance broker, be radically honest that this is a short-term rental. The worst possible time to discover a coverage gap in your insurance is in the middle of a claim. Ask the pointed questions. Am I actually covered with paying guests in the home? What happens if I lose income because I have to close for a repair or a problem? Do I have protection for the expensive disasters, major damage, bug infestations, and the unwanted long-term occupant that won't leave? Get the answers in writing and shop more than one quote. Step 3, study your market and your competition. Before you design a thing in your property, go to school on your market. Your competitors have already run thousands of dollars of experiments for you. You just have to read the results. Look at who's consistently booked, what they offer, and just as importantly, where there's a gap nobody's filling. That gap is often your fastest path to standing out. Here's a little next level trick I love. Call it reading your competition's mind. Pull up 3 or 4 of your strongest listings that's close by yours, open their reviews, and copy as many of those reviews as you can grab. Drop all of them into ChatGPT, and the free version is plenty, and ask it, based on these reviews, what do guests consistently rave about? And then flip the question. Now, what do they complain about most? In seconds, you'll have a 2-column cheat sheet. The amenities worth the money on one side and the headaches to design out before you open on the other. That's not guessing, that's data over drama. Step 4, line up your cleaning team. Now, this may feel early, but trust me here, securing your cleaning team before you're desperate for one is super important. Your cleaner isn't just any old vendor you'd bolt on at the end. They're the engine that resets your business between every single guest. The host scrambling to find someone the week of their first booking has already lost out. So start now, while there's no pressure and give yourself room to find the right fit. Build in redundancy too. People get sick, they take vacations, and sometimes they move on. A turnover isn't going to wait. Having a primary cleaner and at least one backup isn't being paranoid. It's how you protect a back-to-back booking from becoming a 5-star review you lost over a dirty towel. And if you can, walk through a full clean of the space yourself once or twice. You'll discover the awkward corners, the time eaters that no checklist would have warned you about, and you'll be far better at managing for it. Step 5 is the part you've been dreaming about, furnishing your property. 2 honest expectations before you start. It's gonna take longer than your timeline says, and it's probably gonna cost more than your spreadsheet says. So build a real budget and then add a cushion on top of it. And do the same with your calendar. Back orders, shipping delays, and last-minute swaps are not the exception, they're part of the process. Decide in advance that you'll pivot without panicking. And please hear me on this. Do not let a perfect vision hold your doors shut. A property sitting empty isn't almost ready. It's losing money every night it's dark. There is nothing wrong with launching in phases. Open with what looks great now. Be transparent in the listing that a few finishing touches are on the way, and add them as they arrive. Guests respect a host who's clearly on top of things far more than they punish one for an empty accent wall. A practical habit that pays off for years. Keep every receipt and digitize them. Returns, warranty claims, damage disputes, and especially your taxes, they all run on proof of purchase. Set up a simple folder system the day you start buying, and your future self will be grateful. Step 6, set your inventory par levels. Now, this is where you start running your supply chain like an operator instead of a hobbyist. First, a quick mindset shift, and this goes against the grain. A lot of online gurus will tell you to stock an endless mountain of consumables for your guests. Pile it high, never let them run low on anything. I don't do that. I leave thoughtful starter essentials, enough toilet paper, dishwasher pods, trash bags, soap, and basics to comfortably get them through the beginning of their stay, and not an ounce more. And I still earn 5-star reviews on repeat, because guests aren't rating whether you left them a year's supply of paper towels. They're rating their experience. So that's the guest-facing piece. And it's refreshingly simple. Enough to be gracious, not so much that you're bleeding money into a stranger's closet. The part almost nobody sets up is what happens behind the scenes. And it's the difference between a smooth operation and a frantic one. It's called a par level. A par level is simply the minimum quantity of an item you keep on hand before it's time to reorder. So instead of guessing, you decide in advance. I never want to drop below, say, 12 rolls of toilet paper, or 2 backup sets of sheets, or a full box of trash bags. That number is your trigger. And here's why it matters more than it sounds. Without par levels, you find you're down to a single roll of toilet paper at the worst possible moment, an hour before check-in. And then you're scrambling through the aisles of Walmart instead of welcoming your guest. That's not a supply problem, that's a systems problem, and it's completely avoidable. So, set yours up. Build a simple Google sheet listing every consumable in your property and your par level for each, and what you currently have on hand. Then put a recurring 15-minute inventory check on your calendar once a week. That's where you glance at what's below par and place one reorder. That tiny weekly rhythm is what keeps you calm, stocked, and never scrambling. That's a CEO move, sister. Step 7, invest in professional photos. Step 7 is a non-negotiable. You must hire a professional photographer. Hey, I know money's tight at the finish line, but this is the wrong place to economize. Your photos are your entire storefront. A guest will never tour your property in person before they book. So the images online carry the full weight of that decision. Beautiful, well-lit, intentional photos are what stop the scroll. But choose carefully, because not every photographer fits the job. The instinct is to grab a real estate photographer, but selling a home and selling a stay are two entirely different crafts. A real estate photo documents a room. Your photos need to sell a feeling. The slow morning coffee, the cozy reading nook, the evening by the fire. So vet for someone who shoots hospitality. Hand them a room-by-room shot list and bring a few listings whose photos you envy as a reference. Step 8, build a complete listing. Yes, you're going to create your listing and understand that Airbnb's setup wizard gets you maybe 60-70% of the way there. It, of course, walks you through the basics, throws you a celebration screen when you launch, and it's easy to believe that you're finished. But you're not. The details that actually drive bookings live in the settings that you have to go back and configure yourself. Let me give you 3 non-negotiables of a listing that books. First, professional photos, the one we just talked about. They're your storefront, and there is no skipping them. Second, a strategic headline. Your title is prime real estate, so don't burn it on filler facts that show up everywhere else. Use it for the words your ideal guest is actually typing into search. And let the season steer you. Leading with a pool in July and the fireplace in January is a strategic move. And third, the one that most people get wrong, a description that speaks directly to the emotions of your ideal guest. This is when you have to get crystal clear on who you're actually catering to. Is it a family chasing a stress-free reunion? Maybe it's a couple craving a quiet escape. Maybe you're going after the remote workers who need to feel productive but at ease in the evening time. You can't write your listing to appeal to everyone, so pick your person and then write to exactly what they're longing for. Here's where AI can become your copywriter. Once you know your ideal guest, you can hand a tool like ChatGPT that ideal guest profile and your property's features and have it draft a rich emotional description that speaks straight to what that guest is searching for. Then you polish it in your own tone of voice. And one more practical note, front load your strongest selling points up top before the read more cutoff hides them. And check every amenity box you can honestly claim. Each one is another search filter you'll show up in. Step 9, create your launch price. Now, this is where most hosts who are brand new are leaving so much money on the table, and it's all about pricing strategy. The base price you enter during setup is a starting placeholder. It is not a strategy. Yes, you can manage rates by hand inside Airbnb, and that may be okay to start. But here's the secret top earners know. Pricing isn't a sell-it-once decision. It's an ongoing discipline called revenue management. The hosts winning their markets use a dynamic pricing tool that adjusts their nightly rate automatically every day, reacting to real demand, seasonality, local events, and how far out their market tends to book. The category leader here is Price Labs. It keeps you from underpricing a high demand weekend from sitting empty on a slow weeknight. The 2 silent profit leaks that most hosts never even notice. And if revenue management makes your stomach tighten, take a breath, because here's the relief. You can hand this off. There are specialists who do nothing but pricing for short-term rentals. Companies like Step by Step B&B, Pricing by Mira, and Angel Hosts are worth a look. They'll run your price labs and steer your calendar like the revenue engine it is. And that's the CEO move, sister. You do not have to master every lever yourself. You just have to make sure you have the right hands on it. And few levers move your income like this one. Step 10, set up your systems before you take on a guest. Now, this is one that is closest to my heart because it's the dividing line between a host who's drowning and a host who's actually free. Build your systems before the guest, not after. The property doesn't separate the overwhelmed from the CEO. The systems do. And there's a bonus to doing this now, before the next step. Once these are built, you can actually test them. 2 systems matter most out of the gate. First are your automated guest messages. Set them up and let them run on autopilot. A warm booking confirmation the moment someone reserves your property. Clear check-in instructions delivered before arrival. A gentle post-check-in note once they've settled in, asking how everything's going, and checkout instructions near the end so the handoff is smooth. You write these one time. After that, they protect your evenings forever. No more typing the same paragraph at midnight. Second, your house manual. The single place that answers the questions guests ask on repeat. The Wi-Fi, the quirky shower, the trash day, your favorite spot down the street. You can build it inside Airbnb for free, or you can design a branded version in places like Canva or with a purpose-built tool like TouchStay. Whichever you choose, the goal is identical. Your guests get instant answers and you stop being the 24-hour help desk. And here's the why underneath all of it. You didn't leave one job to build yourself a worse gig that never clocks out. You did this for freedom, and freedom doesn't come from grinding harder. It comes from the systems that let the business hum along without you touching every piece. And this, by the way, is the exact work we go deep on inside my STR Success Accelerator. The workflows, the templates, all the things that turn a frazzled Airbnb host into a calm CEO. If that's the kind of support you're craving, the link is below. Step 11. Run a pressure test stay. Almost every host skips, usually because they're convinced they've thought of everything, but they haven't. None of us do on the first pass. Before a paying guest ever arrives in your property, you run a pressure test stay. And the secret is that you don't run it yourself. You're far too close to the space to see what's missing. And now that your systems are built, this stay does double duty. It tests the property and the messages and the manual that you just set up. Recruit a friend who will tell you the unfiltered truth and treat her like a real reservation. Send her the actual check-in message, the Wi-Fi details, point her to the house manual, have her pack a bag and actually sleep there. You want her living a real arrival. Did the check-in instructions make sense? Could she find the towel hook in the shower? Did the manual answer her questions? And does the TV cooperate with the remote? Her job is to take notes on everything, the wins, the friction, and especially the small things you forgot entirely. Because a missing trash can or a dead light bulb is a shrug to a friend and a 1-star complaint from a paying stranger. This dress rehearsal costs you almost nothing and saves the review you can never get back. Step 12, go live and celebrate your accomplishment. Now, this sounds obvious, but somehow going live can get delayed for months. Push the button. Actually publish your listing. Yes, go live. Because here's the truth that no checklist can replace. You will keep learning after you launch your property, no matter how prepared you are. Every property is its own animal. Every guest is different, and each stay will teach you something the last one didn't. That is not a sign that you launched too early. That's simply what hosting is. You'll make fewer mistakes because you work through these steps, but you cannot refine a business that doesn't exist yet. So, cross this line knowing it's really a starting line. It's the beginning of becoming a superhost and building something that pays you back for years to come. And then, I mean this, stop and celebrate. I see so many women blow right past this moment, immediately bracing for the next problem instead of honoring what they've just pulled off. You took an empty property and built an entire short-term rental business. That is enormous. So pour the glass of wine, take the photo selfies, tell the people who doubted you. Celebrating your wins isn't fluff, it's fuel. It's what reminds your brain that the hard things are worth doing, and it's what carries you into the next goal with momentum instead of burnout. You earned this one. Let yourself feel it. Now, as promised, if you're not at the keys in hand stage yet, I've got you. Choosing your market and analyzing your first deal is a whole different set of steps that come before everything we covered today. And I made a video that walks you straight through it. I'll link it right here so you can start in the right place instead of an overwhelming one. And wherever you're standing today, remember this: you don't need every answer to take the next right step. You just need to start where you are. So if you've got that property, pick step one, open a fresh notebook, and let's build a business that hands you freedom instead of overwhelm. And before you go, if this gave you a little more confidence about launching your Airbnb, tap that like button so more women standing exactly where you are can find it. Then tell me in the comments where your first property is going to be. I see these and I genuinely love cheering you on. I'm Stacey St. John. Lead with data, not drama, and I'll see you in the next video.